hours on budgeting, although we're trying to make this as painless as possible. But yes, if you are spending painful hours on budgeting, you are in the right place. We are so glad you can join us today. My name is Nancy Quello. I'm in the marketing department at Markham Technology, and I'll be your host for today's session. Before we get started, I have a few housekeeping items to cover. Next slide, please. So for CPE attendees, just wanted to read out this disclaimer. Markham LLP and Markham Technology LLC have prepared these materials as part of an educational program. The information contained herein is of a general nature and is not intended to address the circumstances of any particular individual, entity, or case. While every effort has been made to offer current and accurate information, errors can occur. Furthermore, laws and regulations referred to in this program may change over time and should be interpreted only in the light of particular circumstances. The information presented here should not be construed as legal, tax, accounting, or valuation advice. No one should act on such information without appropriate professional advice after a thorough examination of a particular situation. Now, logistics. During today's program, you can submit questions to our presenters using the Q&A feature at the bottom of your Zoom platform. They will get to as many questions as they can at the end of the webinar. We will email a copy of the slides and the link to the recording to all attendees post-event. So don't feel free to take screenshots. We're going to send you over the copy of these slides. If you would like to receive continuing professional education credits for CPAs for attending today's session, you will need to be active in the platform for a minimum of 50 minutes and answer 3 polling questions that will appear on your screen at random times during the presentation. Each poll will be active for 1 minute, so please be sure to select an answer and submit your response for tracking purposes. Also, please allow us 24 to 48 hours for us to process your CPE certification. Now, without further ado, I will pass it along to Bulin Tran, Vice President of Markham Technology. Bulin.
Thank you, Nancy, and welcome everyone to our webinar today, Stop Spending Painful Hours on Budgeting. And Nancy, I was going to say exactly the same thing, that if you are spending painful hours on budgeting, then this is really an appropriate webinar for you. So welcome, I'm Bulin Tran. I'm a VP in our Financial Solutions practice here at Markham Tech. I've been with the firm for 19 years, so for a while, but I've been working with nonprofits in the nonprofit industry for most of my career of 20 plus years, and supporting our clients on a number of back office systems, primarily ERP systems, as well as budgeting, one of which we're going to be talking about today. So also joining me is Troy. Troy, you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you, Bulin. So my name is Troy Miner. I've been with the firm 15 years supporting Dynamics GP, Sage Intacct, and the Martus budgeting solution. And I think that the product we show you today will benefit a great number of you.
So today's learning objectives are review common challenges faced when building budgets, review features of an ideal solution, discuss the impact of having a great solutions in place. And the solution that we'll be going over today is the Martus solution. This is a CPE credit, so we will be addressing these learning objectives, and there will be questions, some polling questions, just to make sure everyone is attending this webinar for that credit. Next slide, please. So our agenda for today is we'll talk just a quick 2 slides in terms of who we are, and then we're going to jump right into the topic of talking about budget challenges and what are some of the ideal solution features that addresses these challenges. And then we're going to go right into a Martus presentation and show you what it looks like and how a solution like this addresses those challenges. And then hopefully we'll have a minute or so for Q&A. Next. So who is Marcum and Marcum Technology? Marcum LLP is a CPA firm. Marcum Technology, we're the technology arm of the CPA firm. As you can see here, both Marcum Technology and Marcum were national firm, and we have offices throughout the U.S. Most of the folks within Marcum are accountants, so we have about 4,000 plus employees, and we are ranked the 12th largest CPA firm in the U.S. And as you can see down below, we do serve a number of industries there, and I'm not going to go through it, but we do serve a lot of industries. Next slide. So a little bit about Marcum Tech, and both Troy and myself are part of Marcum Tech. We have within Marcum Tech 5 pillars of services. So starting with digital consulting, that's the practice but that both Troy and I belong to, and we're specifically part of the financial ERP solutions. And within the ERP solutions, it includes Martus, is what we're going to be presenting. But we also, within the ERP space, Marcum supports 4 ERP solutions, 2 of which are SaaS solutions, and they're Sage Intacct and Acumatica. And then we are also a Microsoft partner. We also support Dynamics GP, used to be called Great Plains, and then Dynamics SL for Solomon. We also support and implement FP&A solutions. These are financial planning analysis. And they are Planful and Vena. And there are other solutions that we support as well under digital consulting. And then moving on to the next pillar, strategic consulting. With strategic consulting, we provide assessments to our client to help them determine solutions that might meet their needs for more efficient back office operations. And the next pillar we have is cloud and infrastructure solutions. And this is where we support our clients on cloud solutions where they want to have their solution hosted. We can do that for them. Infrastructure support. And then the 4th pillar we have is the managed IT services. So for some of our clients that may be a smaller size clients, they might want to outsource their IT operations. We have a team of folks that can provide that managed IT services. And then lastly, we've got cybersecurity, where we help our clients secure their operations. All right, so this brings us to our first polling question. Are you currently using Microsoft Excel to manage your budget today? We asked this question because majority, what we're seeing, majority of companies or organizations out there are using Excel. So we are just wondering if you are one of those organizations that are using Excel to manage your budget. And it makes sense because Excel has got that grid, and budget, when you're working with budget, you are working with not just within the accounting department, but you're working with department managers, call center managers or program managers. That's a common tool that everyone knows, and that's why it's so popular. So we go ahead and respond to that, and we will want to take a look at how things pan out. Look at that. So that's still a majority of the people that are using Excel. It's great. Budget challenges, Troy?
Budget challenges. So as everyone knows, the budget process is a process that is necessary, but it's not one that users typically look forward to. There's lots of challenges with the budget process, including communication and collaboration. As you go through the process and changes are made to the data, there's always the need to actually communicate and work on the data together. And that's always a challenge, regardless of which system that you use. Manual data extraction, transformation to Excel. So regarding that, a lot of times when you start your budget process, users or budget contributors want to know, what have we done up to this point this year, and can we get a copy of the budget from last year? And so the budget managers are faced with the challenge of extracting data out of their ERP system, putting it into Excel, and distributing it to all the folks who are going to work on the budget. Accuracy is always an issue when using Excel as well, because it's so easy for errors to hide in Excel, especially when you're using formulas. You may have users who may modify the formulas, who may change the format. So accuracy is always a challenge with Excel. Consolidating budget inputs and managing the process is time consuming. So typically organizations that use Excel will have a budget manager responsible for the process. That budget manager will have a master template and will send out some smaller templates out to the various contributors. They will update them. They send them back, and if all goes well in a perfect world, they'll be able to consolidate those subsidiary budgets, if you will, into your overall organizational budget. And that's assuming everything is perfect, that no one changed the format, and then there's no errors in it. Not currently doing forecasting and what-if analysis. Not currently doing forecasting and the what-if analysis is typically due to the difficulty in doing it without actually having to replicate your entire budget process. So a lot of organizations don't engage in it because they want something much simpler. And again, the budget process itself is not something that users look forward to. Timely decision-making is hindered. So, generating your financials, publishing them out to the various people internally who rely upon them is important, and the more timely it is, the easier it is to perform your decision making. And many times when you're doing BVA analysis, budget versus actuals, unless the budgets are tightly integrated with your system so that you can easily report against the budget versus the actuals, your decision making could be delayed.
And Troy, what I was going to also mention with regard to challenge is that we have at Marcum, we have been sort of preaching to everyone, our clients, everyone, about the benefits of a budget management solution, whatever that might be. In this case, we're talking about Martus. And we've been doing it for many years. And it wasn't, I think, until COVID had happened that we've seen a huge uptake in companies, that organization recognizes that there's a need, they need to do budget, and there's a need to have a solution like this to automate. But I can tell you that since COVID, we're now out of COVID, we're still seeing, still fairly significant interest in a budget solution. And despite that, people are starting to come back. So there is a lot of value, as Troy gone through sort of some of the challenges, whether or not if you're in office or you're outside of office, you still, the collaboration and communication and the iteration of going through the budgets, those are still a challenge. And we're still continuing to see those today, and there's still huge interest in organizations wanting to automate that process.
Ideal solution. So an ideal solution will streamline your budget planning and forecasting process. So Excel is good at storing the numbers, storing the data, but Excel itself really doesn't provide you information. And also Excel is not really managing your process. The budget manager is actually managing and doing pretty much the entire process. And Excel is not really helping you other than just capturing the numbers. It doesn't let you know where you are at in the process. It doesn't let you easily replicate your process if you want to make adjustments to the budget, unfortunately. An ideal solution will improve data accuracy and timeliness. Again, Excel has some issues with errors being easily hidden in Excel, especially if you have worksheets with lots of lines, lots of formulas, and lots of links to external worksheets. Automate manual efforts. again, you want a product or solution that will automate portions of the process for you so you're not having to manually consolidate a bunch of templates. Accelerate your financial close and reporting. Any budget system should accelerate your reporting. It should be very easy to produce budget versus actuals financials out of your budget system. Create insightful reports that guide management decisions. So your budget solution should also have some pre-built reports available for you that will provide you the information that you want in a fashion that's easy to understand by accountants as well as non-accountants. Elevate the role of finance in your business planning. One of the big trends over the past 10 years or so is for finance and accounting departments to push information out as opposed to having to be reactive, where users are coming to accounting and finance and asking for this financial data, this performance data. A good budget solution will allow you to push that data out, and it will actually elevate your role in your what's the word? It would give you more visibility in helping users make timely decisions.
And I will add to that, if the only thing that you do this budget once a year, you're really small, you could probably get away with this in Excel. But if you have a significant size and if you want to do forecasting, it's very challenging trying to do everything in Excel. So we have a second polling question. Are you currently using a budget management solution to manage your budget today? Please respond yes or no. And we're gonna wait a few seconds here and see what the responses are.
And to dovetail what Bulin said regarding the size of your organization, even if your organization is really small and you can get by using Excel, if you have a lot of inputs as into how your budget numbers are calculated, Excel can also be problematic as well.
Yeah. All right, majority people say they're not using, so that's something to consider as to looking at a budget management solution. And let me also say this: once you use a budget management solution, it's very hard to go back to using Excel. And that would be, if I had to give a comparison, let's say in those days back then where you're using a ledger to do your accounting, right? And then you move into QuickBook or Sage Intacct or whatever ERP solutions they're using. Once you're in the solution, would you ever go back to the traditional ledger to track your debits and credit? You just won't. And that would be a comparison to this. Once you have the experience of leveraging a budget management tool, it's very hard to go back.
So the solution that we're going to show you today is the Martus budgeting solution. Martus will allow you to budget faster, report easier, and collaborate better. The ability of it to budget faster is because it's easy to use. The consolidation of the subsidiary budgets that roll into the master budget, that's done for you automatically. The budget manager has a lot of visibility as into where all the contributors are in the process of filling out their budget templates. The reporting is made easier because there are some pre-built reports available for you in a P&L format, revenues, expenses, and is also a new module that was added, a report builder module that was added to allow you to create some custom reports as well. And the collaboration is enhanced because, again, there's visibility into all of the budgets, worksheets where in one place. And so it makes the collaboration a lot easier. Also in this particular product, and it's not necessarily related to one of these bullets, this product has security that's pretty good, and it's tight, and you can restrict or limit users two particular elements or dimensions of your accounting system for. So for example, if you have projects and if you have departments, you can actually control using the Martus system what information users can access based upon their login and their access to a particular department or project. Martus is easy to implement and use. It's 100% cloud-based. It has built-in workflows. Here it says no assembly required. The Martus implementation time is typically a month. If Martus does it, it's a little more, leaning towards the 2-week mark. But we recognize that you still have other work to do, and we want to give you ample time to absorb the product and get a chance to actually work in the product before you go live. So it takes about a month, which is still pretty quick in regards to an implementation. There's a real-time data sync. So you can push a button and sync up the data at any moment. It's on demand. And if you don't do that, elect to do that, Martus will update the data nightly. There's customer support available. You can open a case directly with Martus, or you can open a case with Marcum Technology, and we will get you squared away. And as I mentioned, the security, there's user level permissions to help you collaborate with your team.
All right, so we're on our third polling question. Is your budget solution meeting your needs? So whatever their solution may be, whether it's Excel, whether it's a budget management tool that you're currently using, is that solution meeting your needs when it comes to budgeting? If you're doing forecasting, is it helping you with forecasting? And if you need to do scenario planning, what if scenario, is it meeting your needs there? So we're going to wait a few seconds and see how our attendees respond to this question.
Give it a few more seconds, Bill, and we have a few people still answering.
All right. Oh, that's great. That's great that majority is meeting the needs. That's good to hear. And then we have 45% that are not meeting your needs. So, hopefully this presentation will help, and we like to help you to see how you can leverage a solution to meet your needs.
So the software demonstration is going to be focused on financial reporting, budgeting, forecasting, and personnel budgeting. We do have a limited amount of time for this, so I'm going to hit some of the important features that you should be aware of, and I'll highlight a few items in the system. And I think you'll like the simplicity and ease of use of this product. So let's jump right into Martus. So here's my landing page in the Martus product, and I'm an administrator, so I get access to a lot of various information. A couple of things to note here. There's a window pane here that's being pushed. The data is being pushed from Martus. It's letting us know, about the most recent enhancements in the product. There's some budget info in this window here. It's showing me, what the last closed month is in our ERP system. This demo environment is linked to a Sage Intacct demo system. And so the last closed month in that system is October of 2018, and it's providing me some additional information about the various budgets that we have in this demo environment. And then there's a tips and tricks window that is here that Martus is pushing, and you can actually scroll through these and get new ones and see what's new. And then there's another window of save reports. So as I mentioned, there's a report builder product. You can actually build custom reports. They will show up here, and you can actually share them with other members in your organizations or not. So that's why mine is shown as shared. So we're going to jump right in and look at the product and the functionalities. And we're going to start with the financial reporting. So we'll go to dashboards. And we'll go to financials. And the first reporting window we're going to look at is this dashboard here. And on this dashboard, we have several visuals here. We have a bar chart that's monthly income and expense, showing total income, total expense, and the gain. We have another bar chart that's just showing, monthly income and revenue for the current period, prior period, the difference, the budget, and the variance. These visuals are predefined, pre-built for you, so there's no learning curve in getting these onto the dashboard. You don't have to do anything. They're already there for you when you implement the product. Here's a pie chart for the account income top 10. It's by natural account. So here, for example, I see the GL account 4230 is sales. When I hover over that slice of the pie, it makes up 18% of the top 10 revenue. And I can actually see the dollar amount is $1.7 million. Similarly, I have an account expense top 10 pie chart as well. I have a monthly gain loss for the current period, prior period, the difference, the budget, and the variance, and a monthly expense bar chart. The dashboards can be user specific or they can be role specific. So if you have budget managers, you can create a dashboard called budget manager and put the appropriate visuals on there. If you have a dashboard for all the people in finance and accounting, maybe you want to put all the visuals on their dashboard. So you can create a dashboard for that as well. And you can create as many dashboards as you need. The second reporting item we're going to look at is an income statement. And so this is a generic out-of-the-box income statement that is deployed with the product. And basically, it just spits out the revenues and expenses. It's very easy to read. And at the bottom, you have a net gain or loss. The account numbers and descriptions are in the left-hand column. And then we have actuals all the way up through the last closed month. And then we have the budget amount for the last closed month. And then we have the variance. Additionally, we have year-to-date actual, year-to-date budget, and year-to-date variance numbers. We also show the annual budget and what's remaining in the budget. The numbers that are highlighted here in blue are, it's showing us that you can actually drill down into the details of the actuals. A lot of modern ERP systems have this functionality as well, but if your user is only in Martus, they can actually get the detail as well. For example, if I drill down on contributions for the month of January, I get a list of the transaction or a transaction report of the items that make up that particular number. At the top of this window, you'll see there's various fields here, and some of these fields are going to be on everyone's Martus instance. For example, what we're looking at now is an income statement that's based upon the natural account. I can actually change this view so that I can look at these income statements from the perspective of the departments. And so now I'm looking at an income statement that lists the departments, their revenue, their expense, and then, of course, the net gain or loss. So this window here is a good snapshot, a good snapshot of where your departments are and how they're performing. So many of you may be using a product called Sage Intacct, or you may be using some other product that has what's called dimensions. So dimensions are the ways that you code your accounting transactions when they're split up into separate fields. Some of you are using accounting systems where the account number is one long string. These are the components or dimensions of your coding when you're coding transactions. So maybe one field is the location, another field may be the department. You may have a class, a grant or project, also maybe a budget code as well. You can filter your income statement based upon one of those filters. So if I wanted to see the P&L for the grant or project called scholarships and grants, I would select the filter and it would provide the information. So now I see that this particular grant has revenue for the year. I can see the amount of the revenue. I can see the variance information. It's the same information that's available for the overall organization. I can combine filters. So if I wanted to see mobile functionality upgrade and one of these departments here, I can actually use multiple dimension filters here. These filters will vary, as I mentioned, organization specific, so they will match, in most cases, they will match what your ERP system has for dimensions, or however it is configured for coding. Sage Intacct separates the individual pieces of coding into separate fields. So that's why we have the department as a separate field, the grant as a separate field, the budget code and the locations as separate fields. Again, it matches what your ERP system has. These values here come over from your ERP system. So Sage Intacct is tightly integrated with Martus. And so this list of departments and the list of grants were initially set up in Sage Intacct. And as users add new ones, Martus reaches out and grabs those values and brings them over to Martus for you automatically. You do not have to do duplicate work because of the tight integration that's involved. The next report I'm going to show you is the year-to-date budget comparison report. The year-to-date budget comparison report will show you, let me take the filter off. It will show you the total budget, the actuals, what's remaining, the percentage of budget, the prior year to date dollar amount, the difference from the prior year, and the percentage difference from the prior year to date. Again, you still have your filters, so you can run reports at the department level, the project level, or a combination of the two. You can also modify the start and end dates as well. There's an option here for including excluded data. So there may be some accounts that you don't really want to, you may not want to show in these reports. So maybe let's say you have a P&L that you want to drop out any accounts that really don't affect your cash flow. They will be marked as excluded data. And then you can check this box if you want to bring them back into it. So you have that option available to you as well. The last report I'm going to show you is the monthly budget comparison report. This report, this view is probably pretty common. It's showing you the year-to-date, or I'm sorry, the monthly amounts for the entire year, actuals versus budget. So we have January up through October, and then we have the year-to-date actuals, budgets, and variance. And then all the way to the right, we have the annual budget, what's remaining, and the percentage of budget that's remaining. We have the highlighted numbers here that you can use to drill down. And to be repetitive, you do have the ability to filter some of this data. The filters here are a little bit different. You can change the way that the data is viewed. You can select from various budgets. So let's say you have your board approved budget, you have your Q1, forecast, a Q2 forecast. You can change which one you're looking at on the fly by selecting it here from the drop down. You can control how many periods you're actually seeing and the ending date as well. And so that's just a sample of some of the reports that are available to you out of the box. If you want the report to look different, there is a product module that's here. It's called the Report Builder. The Report Builder lets you jump in and design your own report from scratch, if you like. So it's very flexible in that regard. The Report Builder is new, and that's part of Martus's commitment to adding additional functionality on a regular basis. This item here is the updater. This updater function allows you to do an on-demand sync with your accounting system. So if you added new accounts in the middle of the day, or departments or locations, you can do an on-demand sync so that Martus will grab those new values. If you don't do the on-demand sync, Martus will automatically do it for you during the middle of the night. I'm going to jump over to the planner section, and this is really why you are here. Martus is using the term planner, but this is where the budgeting actually occurs. And in the planner section, there are some reports here to help you see where you're going to fall out at in your budget creation. So This first report is the planner summary report, and it's looking at the 2019 board approved budget. Again, it's in the P&L format, which makes it easy to read. You can do account view, department view. You can filter based upon the department, the grant or project, the location, or any other dimension that you have in your ERP system that's integrated with Martus. The next report I want to show you is the prior year budget comparison report. So this report here is showing us the 2019 budget and how it compared to 2018 actuals to give you an idea of how well you may be budgeting or how different this budget is from the way you performed in the prior year. And the side-by-side budget comparison report will let you compare multiple versions of a budget. You can actually compare a budget from, let's say, 2018, a budget from 2019. You can actually compare also, if you did a Q1 and Q2 forecast, you can include them as well. And this particular report will actually bring the data in and compare budgets 1, 2, 3, 4 against whatever you select as the base budget. So that's a pretty good report there as well to help you gauge how well you are budgeting and measuring your performance. Your ERP system is already providing you some information regarding reporting. And so maybe you won't rely on the budget reporting heavily, but it is there for you. The reason that they put so many reports on the Martus side is because you may have a lot of users who do not need to be in your ERP system. So your project managers, they just want to see how they're performing. They can jump into Martus, they can generate the reports themselves, and they do not have to wait or come to accounting and finance to get that information. One report that I do need to show you is this worksheet status report. So for users who use Excel, the process typically is someone builds this massive template, and then they send out some subsidiary templates that are linked to it. Users who are contributing to the budget will fill them out, and at some point they will submit them back to the budget manager, who will update the links and do the consolidation. This report here shows you where the users are in that process. So Martus kind of sort of uses a similar process in that users have their own slice of the budget that they have to populate. This report here shows you where they are at in the process. And so I'm going to show you the 4 statuses that they may have in their budget process. On this first worksheet or template for department NFSO4, their budget has been fully approved. So that means that they completed it, submitted it for approval, and it was approved. This second one here for department NFSO5 is waiting for approval. And so that means the user has filled out their budget and they have submitted it. When a user submits their budget, it is frozen, is locked down. They cannot modify it. This next one is open, and that means the user is still working on the budget. So if you're approaching a deadline and it hasn't been submitted for approval, this is who you need to shoot an email out to or jump on the phone with and let them know they need to get it in. And then this 4th status, denied, is the status when a user has submitted a budget, and for whatever reason, the budget approver has denied it. When the budget approver denies it, the budget approver can also put some comments in. So in this example, we just say, need some more work, let me know if I can help. Here you can identify particular line items in the budget that don't look right, or the numbers need to be adjusted. So again, this is the worksheet status report, and this shows you where your individual contributors are in the process of building their budgets. Now, to the meat of the product, we're going to look at what's called worksheets, and they're going to be similar in terms of Excel worksheets. So the learning curve for users updating their budgets is going to be very small. They can update their budgets exactly like they do today, which is typically going in Excel, keying in a number or doing a formula that spreads a number across 12 months, they will be able to continue to do that. And additionally, there's some more sophisticated ways to do that as well. So I'm going to pick on a particular, let me find a good worksheet to pick on. Let's go with Department 999. And so when the users go into the worksheet, and this is what the user will see, it's going to be split into two areas. The top of the window is going to be a reference area, and it's going to show the budget creators where they are in this year, because you're budgeting for next year. So they can see actuals for this year, and that may help them gauge how to budget for next year. They can, instead of seeing actuals for this year, they can also look at the budget for this year instead. So you have some flexibility in terms of what that reference data is. So that is displayed at the top. So there's the revenues and expenses, the actuals for this year. And then we get down to the budget portion. So there's the budget portion for the revenues and the budget portion for the expenses. We're going to focus on the expenses. And so on this life insurance line here for the expense, there's multiple ways in Intact to populate this data. So the traditional way, especially if you're using Excel, is just to key in an amount into a field. And you can do that for all the months. It's very tedious, but for some users, that's what they're comfortable doing. They can continue to do that. Another option is to use this calculator widget here. So here, this will basically replace the formula or the function to spread budget numbers across multiple months. And so if I select monthly here, I have the starting month, the ending month, and if I want to set this budget to $5,000 a month, click preview, it sets it to $5,000 a month. I can also put notes in for each one of the months. So if I change this number to 15,000, I can have a note here, say the key man is due in May. I click save. It will update the numbers. And I can see here that it does escalate to 15,000 in May. When I hover over it, I can actually see the note that's associated with it. So users can enter the data manually, or they can take advantage of the calculator widget. The third way that they can update or populate these numbers is called initializing the data. And so I'm going to select this box here on this insurance premium line. And when I go up to worksheet solutions, I'm going to choose initialize. So initialize comes up. It allows me to populate those values based upon actuals or budgets for a particular year or time. And so if I choose to escalate them by 10%, I set 110%. And when I go back to my expenses, you will see that it looked at the actuals and then came in, escalated them 10%, and then pre-populated that for me. Once you key it in manually, use the budget wizard, or actually use initialize, you can still go in and override the numbers. So there's a lot of flexibility there. And so users can do exactly what they're doing now, or they can take advantage of the calculator widget. The fourth way, which is my favorite way, and a lot of people are doing it this way, but it's a lot more work. Some of your budget managers will fill out your worksheets that you send them, your templates, but they will have some of their own worksheets. In their worksheets, they'll put the vendors that they're spending the funds with. They will put any calculations that they use to come up with their numbers. But the budget manager will not see that. That information will stay with the person who created that slice of the budget. Martus eliminates that. Martus will allow you to take all of that detail and supporting information and include it as part of the budget. Martus has the ability to use what's called a special purpose worksheet. And so I have one here that's already pre-built. This special purpose worksheet has two types of data in it. Some of this data that I have here is a calculation based upon the head count in my department. So for a particular cost, I'm saying it's about $100 per person for each person in my department. There's 6 people in my department, and so it calculates what that value is for the month. In July, my head count's going up to 8, so it automatically does that calculation for me. And I've told Martus that this data here, this membership cost, posted to dues and subscriptions, to this particular grant, to this particular budget code, and to this particular cost. The other type of data I have here is where I've identified where or which vendors I may spend money with. So in this example, I'm saying, okay, I'm going to spend $55,000 with Acme in March, $300 a month with Lenovo, and $250 a month with Staples. And again, I can specify where in my budget these numbers are rolled into. And if I build all this out, then I have all of my supporting detail for my budget numbers, and it will stay as part of the budget. So next year, I can actually come back and reuse this just update the numbers for the next year, and I don't have to recreate it from scratch. Once I've built out my special purpose worksheet, I choose post to worksheet, and it will roll those numbers into my budget for me. So those are the 4 ways to actually get that data in. Also, if there's any narrative information, so if you want to attach, copies of maybe some contracts or some grants to the budget, there's the ability to actually add attachments to the budget. So you can add additional supporting materials to the budget, and it will permanently stay a part of the budget unless someone goes in and delete it. We have about 15 minutes left, so I do want to make sure there's time for questions. So I'm going to jump over to personnel budgeting. Personnel budgeting allows you to capture all the cost for having your staff. So any employer cost for having an employee in a particular position in the organization can be captured, as well as any future hires that you may have. So you can have placeholders in here as well. In terms of the types of costs that can be captured, any cost that the employer has can be captured. So here's some examples: salaries expense, bonus, retirement matching, life insurance premiums, the employer portion, other employee benefits, gym reimbursements, cell phone reimbursements, technology stipends, payroll tax. We build these on the 3rd training, because there's 3 trainings. We actually build these with you, so you'll know how to build them, and we make sure that we capture all the costs the same way that you do. You don't have to have this extensive list. We have some clients who will take a lot of this and roll it into one cost and just simply call it fringe, and it'll be a percentage of salaries, and it will automatically calculate what that fringe amount is based upon that particular employee's salary. So let's take a look at some of the data. There's a grid here showing the positions. We see job titles, who the employee is in that position. You can take advantage of types, the employee's home locations, departments, and class. We have some placeholder positions here where there is no employee. So we have seasonal 1 and seasonal 2. When we get over to some of the detail, we'll look at a particular employee, and we're going to look at my favorite employee, Neiman Marcus. So Neiman Marcus works in IT, and here we're tracking the budget amount for Neiman's salary, bonus, and retirement match. I can see Neiman's title, Neiman's employee ID number, the type of employee Neiman is, and the home information, location, department, class, and grant. Because Neiman is an IT person, traditionally Neiman's costs will go into this non-project or grant-related grant. However, if Neiman was a person who worked on a single project exclusively, then it would show their grant here, whether it's the scholarship grant or whatever other grant we have here. We can filter this list based on position type. So if I want to see just IT folks, if I have this exploded for the full list of employees, I can do that. I can also restrict it on pay types. So if I wanted to see the entire organization and I want to see just salaries, I can load it here, and I can see the salaries for all the employees for all the positions. I'm going to jump over to the summary tab to show you a great feature, and this is something that a lot of users struggle with. Let's jump back to Neiman Marcus. Many times you have lots of employees who may work on multiple projects, contracts, or grants. Martus will allow you to do an allocated budget. So you can allocate the way that you think that the actuals are going to occur. Here I have Neiman's salary at $10,000 a month. And I'm going to restrict this view to just his salary to make it easier to view. And Neiman typically, in all the prior years, 100% of Neiman's salary went to this admin project, which is admin grant 999. But we expect Neiman to start working on a couple of other projects. So I want to view Neiman's salary allocated to 3 projects. And so I'm going to select this particular allocation that we created for Neiman. And so a portion is going to stay at Neiman's home project, and portion is going to go to 2 other projects. So now his $10,000 salary is split across 3 projects or grants. $5,000 remained with his home grant, $3,000 went to 120, and $2,000 went to grant 100. When I'm looking at this particular view, if I post this particular view, so this is the allocated view, to the budget, this is how it's going to post to the budget. It's not going to post the $10,000 to his home grant. It's going to post $5,000 to his home grant and allocate the other $5,000 across these other 2 grants. You can go in and create an allocation for every single employee, set the percentages at the month, at the monthly level. So it doesn't have to be the same percentage throughout the year. It could be, 20, 30, 50 in January, and it could be 60, 30, 10 in February. So it can vary from month to month. Also, there's another way to actually view this data and post it to the budget, is if you want to see the detail. And when I choose that detail, I see the original amount in his home grant, $5,000 being backed out of his home grant, and then that $5,000 being allocated to the other 2 grants. Again, if I post it this way, this is how it's going to show up in the budget. You'll notice here on this particular view that in the grid, there is no identifier as to the employee is. And that's because when it posts the budget, it does it from an accounting perspective. So it will post to the appropriate natural account numbers, your dimensions such as department, class, grant, or project, and will not have that identifier information in the budget. Personnel budget is usually done by a small group of people who have access to everyone's salary, and allows them to push that out to the program or budget manager's worksheets. And so that's a quick high-level view of reporting, budgeting, and personnel budgeting. A couple of other things I wanted to just recap. In the slides, we talked about security and dimensions. So when we're looking at the budgets, you have a user who's responsible for the scholarship project or grant, you can set up Martus so that when they come into Martus and they look at reports, they only see information related to that particular project or grant. Another thing I wanted to mention is regarding the integrations. This product integrates with multiple ERP systems. This is what we're looking at is tied to Sage Intacct. It's a very tight integration. And for the ERP systems that it doesn't integrate with, and by the way, it does integrate with QuickBooks, for the ERP systems that it does not integrate with, you can actually do an export-import function to allow you to use Martus to build your budget, and then you can export it and import it into your ERP system. So that's very useful for individuals where it is integrated. There's a function in here. Once you approve your budget's approved, it's board approved. You can actually take the budget you created in Martus and push it into your ERP system. And so it's not like you have to go in there and recreate the budget. It will automatically push it over. And then you can take advantage of the reporting in Martus as well as the reporting in your ERP system. The Martus reports are not designed necessarily to replace the ones in your ERP system, because the ones in your ERP system, you've invested in them and you've invested in the formats and layouts that they are, and they provide you some very useful information. The reports in Martus are really designed to give the project managers an easy to understand view of where their projects are performing. So that's a quick overview of the product. If any of you need to see a demo for your organization, later, reach out to us, let us know, and we'll schedule some time to go back through this again with the organization after having a brief discussion with you about your requirements.
Thank you, Troy. And I know there was quite a number of questions that were asked, and some of them are more involved and more in depth. This is a very general presentation, and for the questions that are more in depth, I think we'll probably want to do is just follow up with you to make sure that we answer your questions. This is just one of the solutions that we support on the budgeting. We do support other solutions as well. In terms of due diligence, we want to take the appropriate due diligence to make sure that we have a good fit between a solution like Martus and what you're looking for, and how that might integrate with your ERP solution. Next slide, please, Troy. So we're coming to the end of our presentation. We do have a slide. This is our last polling question. We will not see the results. So if you could just take a second to respond to that, would really appreciate it. And next slide, please.
Nope.
This really concludes our presentation. If folks on this call have been following us in terms of our webinars and through Markham's Learning Center, you'll know that we are very active on the technology side, how we have these webinars that encompasses both an issue and how we're looking at a technology to address those issues. We have a couple that are coming up. Is this the time to up your games? Now, well, we're doing this a presentation with Lease Query. And Lease Query is exactly what it is. It is a tool to manage your lease, managing your lease as well as the reporting on that. And this presentation really look at how, for organizations that have finished their year and now maybe can take the time to look at their operations and leverage solutions like Sage Intacct to up their game in terms of automations and improving their back office operations. So that's tomorrow. Still on GP and thinking about transitioning to the cloud. I mentioned earlier that we are also a GP partner, and we get asked a lot about we're on GP and we're evaluating Sage Intacct. What is the difference? How do they, our features in here on GP, how does that work over to Sage Intacct? And so that presentation will be looking at the functionality differences between these solutions. If you're on GP and you're thinking about moving to the cloud, this is a great presentation to attend. Trends in association, travel, and expense reporting. We'll be talking about some of the trends in association as it relates to travel and expense reporting. That's September the 7th. And then lastly, we'll have a Sage Intacct 2023 R3 release, what you should know. We do these type of presentation 4 times a year because there are 4 releases. This one is scheduled for September 28th. So again, I wanted to thank everyone for attending our webinar. I hope this was helpful and useful to you all. And we'll definitely follow up with folks that have reached out to us with questions. And if you have any questions, this is our contact. Feel free to reach out to us, and have a great day. Thanks, everyone. Thank you,
Boo.
thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Troy, and thank you, Bulin. And for folks who are still on the call, we did receive a few questions about CPE certification. So Just 2 requirements are needed in order to get the CPE certification. You would have to stay on this presentation for 50 minutes and answer 3 out of the 4 polling questions that were that popped up during the presentation. If you meet these 2 requirements, you should expect to receive an email with your CPE certification within 24 to 48 hours. Other than that, we really do appreciate everybody's time and hope that everyone got a lot of value from today's presentation. It seems like from all the questions that we did receive, it seemed like that was very much the case. But of course, feel free to reach out to Bulin or Troy. Their contact information is on the screen. And if you just have any general questions, please feel free to reach out to us. And we, again, thank you for attending, and we hope to see everybody soon. All right, take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.